So if you're playing music with me, usually I do a countdown, but I don't really need to do that because it's not a synced playlist. So you can just shuffle it and push play if you want. And we're going to start by coming into an easy cross-legged seat. And so if you have your shins crossed, one shin in front of the other, this is called Sukhasana or easy pose. Or if your hips are pretty open, you could place one heel in front of the other. This is called Siddhasana or Sage's pose. If your knees are up pretty high, that means your hip flexors are still working. And so sometimes in yoga, we'll sit on top of something. And so that could be a pillow or a folded blanket, or you could sit on your yoga block. And you notice how that makes my knees lower than my hips and my hip flexors can relax. So that's just an option. In the very least, you want your knees to be in line with your hips. Okay. And just lean forward a little and shift side to side. See if you can get your sitting bones or ischial tuberosities for any anatomy geeks out there. Get your sitting bones back. And then when you sit back, your sitting bones drop down into the floor. So you have this sense of rootedness. So do that again, kind of lean, shift your weight, reach your hips back, and then settle as you stack your shoulders over your hips. Okay. We're just going to start with a simple moving meditation with our arms. I kind of showed you a little bit a few minutes ago. So just take your arms at your sides, plug your fingertips into the floor next to you, glide your shoulder blades onto your back. Complete your exhale. And then as you inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. As you exhale, reach your arms out and down. And feel that again. Inhale, arms rise. And exhale, arms lower. You might, once you get a feel for it, you might close down your eyes. Inhale, arms skywards. And exhale as your arms lower. And just feel that once more on your own. And release your arms down. So that is vinyasa yoga, moving with our breath. Circle your shoulders out once or twice, so forward, up, and onto your back. And then just allow your shoulders to fall away from your ears. So now we're gonna experiment with a breath practice called Ujjayi pranayama. It's the ocean sounding breath. Basically, we'll be making the sound as if you are fogging up a mirror. So that sound, but breathing in and out through our nose instead of our mouth. So we'll try it first with our mouth, and then mouth breathing, and then nostril breathing. So complete your exhale. Take a deep inhale through your nose. And then exhale out through your mouth as if you're fogging up a mirror. So you can hear your breath, you can feel your breath. If it's cold, you could see your breath. Do that again. Inhale through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth as if you're fogging up a mirror. Good. Again, inhale through your nose and see if you can make that same sound with your mouth closed. So slightly constricting the base of your throat as you breathe out through your nose. Create that sound as you inhale through your nose. And as you exhale through your nose. Continue like that with the ocean sounding breath. If it feels stressful to try this, just breathe naturally instead. Again, when we breathe in this way, there's a slight invigorating quality to the breath, and it helps us to become aware of our breath. So we can see it, we can feel it, we can hear it. In some traditions of yoga, we actually breathe in this way while we're in the postures as well. Next time you exhale, relax your throat, let go of that breath. And we're going to transition to hands and knees, come into a tabletop pose. Okay, so as you come into tabletop, have your wrists under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Spread your fingers wide. And we'll take what's called cat spread. So really simple, pretty common warm up in yoga to warm up the spine. So from here, look forward, lift your tailbone, and arc through your spine. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, drop your head, round your back, drop your tailbone. Press the mat away. And now moving with your breath. Inhale, look forward, opening up through the front of your chest. And exhale, round and stretch out your back. A couple more cycles like that. Follow your breath. You don't have to go at my exact pace. Inhale, open up, and exhale to round. Once more on your own, follow your breath. And if you want to breathe using that ocean sounding breath, you're welcome to do that. Again, if that feels overwhelming or stressful, just let it go. Okay, come back to a neutral spine. Bring your big toes together, widen your knees a little wider than your hips, and reach your hips back towards your heels, child's pose. And so in child's pose, it's nice to rest your forehead on something. So you can stack your hands, rest your forehead down. You can stack fists. If you have a block, you could rest your forehead on a block. And for this first child's pose, I usually like to just stack my hands. Inhale through your nose. Feel the expansion through your lungs, your ribs, your belly. And exhale through your nose. Let your hips get heavy and your upper back can broaden. And so this child's pose you can come to at any point in your practice when you need to rest and just pause. And some people don't enjoy child's pose. It feels kind of claustrophobic. You could also just sit on your heels. This is called Vajrasana or thunderbolt pose. You can kind of picture like the zigzags of a thunderbolt. So complete your exhale. And then inhale, transition back to hands and knees. Readjust yourself, stack your knees under your hips, your wrists under your shoulders, spread your fingers, tuck your toes, and we're gonna come into downward facing dog. If your wrists start to feel strained, you can always come back to tabletop because I'm gonna be talking a bit and breaking it down since this is the first time in downward dog. So send your hips up and back. Keep your knees bent in downward dog. Press into your hands so much that you reach your hips up and back and press your chest towards your thighs. It may or may not touch. Reach the top of your head towards the space between your hands. So you feel extension through your spine. You can keep your knees bent or start to straighten your legs and drop your heels down for downward facing dog. If your low back is tight or your hamstrings are tight, keep a generous bend of your knees. Okay, so we're gonna move with the breath. Take an inhale, lift your heels up, and exhale, bend your knees a lot. Inhale, straighten your legs to your capacity, lift your heels high, and exhale, drop your heels down. Okay, moving with the breath. Inhale, lift your heels.
Exhale, bend your knees. Inhale, straighten your legs, keep lifting your heels. And exhale, drop your heels down. Once more like that. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, bend your knees. Inhale, straighten your legs, lift your heels. And exhale, lower your heels down to the mat. Good. Lower your knees down.
Sit back on your heels and shake out your hands a little bit. It can be a lot for the wrists. Press your palms forward, spread your fingers wide. And now make fists with your hands, squeeze, and then stretch. And squeeze your fist and then stretch. Do that a couple of times. Next time you make fists, circle out through your wrists. And just breathe deeply. Change direction, circle the other way. Good. And then again, shake out your hands a little bit. Come back to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under, press back downward facing dog. Look to the top of your mat and walk your feet forward to come into a standing forward fold. Okay, so your knees can be generously bent. We're still warming up the body. If you have blocks, you could also place your hands on blocks if your hands don't easily touch the floor. Okay, so you can notice either knees bent or maybe hands on blocks and knees bent. You're feeling pretty tight today. Okay, so have your feet hip distance apart and parallel. Take an inhale, lift halfway, bring your hands to your shins or even your thighs, look forward. And as you exhale, fold and drop your head. And feel that again. Inhale, lengthen your spine, look forward. And exhale, fold, drop your head, relax through the back of your neck. And feel that once more. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Okay, now soften your knees if they're not. Bring your hands to your hips, send your elbows high. And as you inhale, come up to standing with a flat back. So that helps to stabilize the lower back especially. Okay, so we're at the top of the mat. This is mountain pose, Tadasana. Turn your palms to face forward. That helps to broaden the collarbones and open up the shoulders. And do this for a moment. Bring your hands to your hips and just shift your weight forward and back. So as your weight shifts back, your toes can lift and spread. And then you shift forward and plant your toes. Just bringing attention to the soles of your feet. Slow that movement or decrease that movement so that you settle into what feels equal between fronts and backs of your feet. And then release your arms down at your sides. As you inhale, stretch your arms high, connect your palms. And just like we did seated, exhale, release your arms down. Okay. Couple more breaths like that. Inhale, arms rise, simple movement with your breath. Exhale to lower. Good, last one, inhale, arms lift. And this time, as you lower, bend your knees a little. We're gonna fold forward. So this is called a swan dive. Take your arms out to the sides. Lead with your sternum, hinge at your hips, and then release your hands to the floor or your blocks. Again, inhale, lift part way, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold. Again, inhale to lengthen, and now step your right foot back to come into a lunge. Set your back knee down. So you want your front knee stacked over your ankle. And now bring your hands to your hips. Make sure you're not on a tightrope, so you might widen your front foot to the left a little bit. So this is low lunge Anjaneyasana. As you feel steady, you could lift your arms up and overhead. We're going to move again with our breath. So as you exhale, release your arms down at your sides. And maybe sink a little deeper into your front knee. Inhale, lift your arms. You might glide your hips down. Exhale to lower. Good. Once more like that. Inhale, lift. Exhale. This time, as you lower, release your hands all the way to the floor and step back to hands and knees. Plant your hands, shoulder distance, spread your fingers, tuck your toes, press back, downward facing dog. Inhale deeply through your nose. And exhale through your mouth, let out a sigh. On your next inhale, round forward into plank pose. You might walk your hands forward a little so that your shoulders stack directly over your wrists. And now lower your knees down so you're in half plank. So you notice how this is a little different than tabletop. There's a little more distance between my hands and my knees. So inhale here. And as you exhale, slowly start to lower down, bend your elbows, hug your elbows in towards your ribs, and come all the way down onto your belly. So that was half chaturanga or half push-up pose. Untuck your toes. With your hands under your shoulders, hug your elbows in towards your ribs for baby cobra pose. Bhujangasana. So you're just lifting up slightly. Take an inhale, lift up a little higher. And exhale, lower. Press back, child's pose. Big toes touch, knees wide. This time you might keep your arms stretched long to add a little more sensation in the shoulders and upper back. And on your next inhale, shift forward to hands and knees. Tuck your toes, press back. Downward facing dog. Take an inhale, lift your right leg. You can bend your knee, open your hip. Press evenly into both hands. Three-legged downward dog. As you exhale, look forward, step forward between your hands, lunge. If your foot didn't make it all the way forward, take right hand to ankle, bump your foot forward. So your front knee's over your ankle and set your back knee down. Bring your hands to your hips. Low lunge. Pull your hips back a little bit to create stability. Again, make sure you're not on a tightrope. You can heel toe your front foot to the right. Lift your arms, Anjaneyasana. Inhale. As you exhale, release your arms down, maybe sink into your hips. Again, inhale, arms rise. Exhale, arms release. Inhale. Moving with your breath. It doesn't have to be my exact pace this time. As your hands lower, release your fingertips to the floor. With back toes tucked, lift your back knee. Shift your weight back a little. So kind of spring load your back leg, look forward and step to the top of your mat. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale, lengthen, lift halfway. And exhale, fold. Soften your knees. And this time, reverse swan dive. Take your arms out to the sides. And inhale, come up with a flat back. Connect your palms at the top. Maybe lift your gaze. And exhale, lower your hands through the center. Either pausing with the hands at your heart or release your arms at your sides. Mountain pose. Okay. So that was a variation of surya namaskar, sun salutation. We're going to flow through that on the other side, maybe a little quicker. Release your arms at your sides if they're not. Inhale, stretch your arms high. Exhale, fold. So micro bend your knees to free up your lower back. Release your hands. Drop your head. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, step your left foot back into a lunge. Set your back knee down. Inhale, lift your arms. Exhale, release your hands. Step back, downward facing dog. And take an inhale, round forward, plank pose. And this time you can have knees down or straight legs. Press into your hands, puff into your upper back. Take another inhale. And then shift shoulders towards your fingertips. Exhale, slow lower to your belly. Untuck your toes and inhale, rise. Either high cobra. Notice the tendency here is to shrug your shoulders towards your ears. See if you can glide your shoulders away from your ears. Wrap your elbows in towards your ribs and lift your sternum, your heart, your eyes. Exhale, lower. Okay, so either staying with baby cobra or full cobra or coming into upward dog. For upward dog, slide your hands back an inch or two. Press into your hands so much that your arms straighten and your thighs lift off of the mat. And take an inhale. And either lower your knees or roll over your toes, downward facing dog. Inhale through your nose. And exhale out through your mouth. Let out a sigh. Take an inhale, lift your left leg, bend your knee, open your hip, press evenly into your hands. And as you exhale, look forward, step forward, low lunge. If your foot didn't quite make it, left hand to ankle, give your foot a boost. Front knee over your ankle, set your back knee down. Wait for your inhale to lift your arms. Exhale, lower your hands. Tuck your back toes, lift your knee. Shift your weight back a little, kind of spring load your back leg. Look forward, step forward. Uttanasana, forward bend. Inhale, lengthen, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Drop your head. Inhale, rise all the way to standing. Lift your arms. And exhale, center yourself as you lower your hands to your heart or release your arms down at your sides. Mountain pose. Okay. So that is a sun salutation. I'm gonna check the time. Okay, got some good time. So bring your hands to your hips. We're gonna come into some standing poses. Step your left foot way back and turn to face the long side of your mat. Okay, so you can kind of heel toe your feet. Turn your toes to face the long side of your mat so your feet are parallel. So basically, for all the standing poses in yoga, there are 4 foot patterns. Okay, and then from there you can create any standing pose. So this first foot pattern is called Prasarita padotanasana. And this is how we position ourselves for a standing forward fold. So bring your hands to your hips, roll your shoulders back, stand tall, take an inhale. And as you exhale, micro bend your knees, lead with your sternum, hinge at your hips, and release your hands under your shoulders, or if you've got some blocks, those can be nice. And take an inhale, lift part way, lengthen your spine. And as you exhale, fold. You might even slide your hands back so that your fingertips start to line up with your toes. So your fingers and toes are facing the same direction. Take an inhale, again, lengthen. And exhale, fold, let your head drop. Walk your hands out in front of you, soften your knees. Bring your hands to your hips, elbows high, and inhale, come up with a flat back. Okay, So from this foot pattern, there are many variations. So I'll just kind of show you briefly. So you could come into a shoulder opening in this pose. This is Prasarita C. You could come into a twist. You could come into a side stretch, walking your hands towards one foot. You could hold your big toes. There's a lot you can do with this one foot pattern. So we're going to come into the next one. Bring your hands to your hips, turn your heels in, toes out, and bend your knees. So this is a temple pose. Your knees stacked over your ankles. Release your arms down at your sides. As you inhale, stretch your arms up, straighten your legs. Connect your palms and exhale, lower your hands through the center, bend your knees. Just moving with your breath. Inhale, arms rise, straighten your legs. And exhale, center yourself, bend your knees. Just once more like that. Good. This next time you lower into temple pose, pause. Inhale here. Exhale, sit a little deeper. Good. Inhale, straighten your legs and release your arms. I'll give you a quick visual. A lot of things you can do with this pose. You can add a twist, dropping one shoulder and then the other. You could add a side stretch. This is also, this foot pattern is the foundation for side lunge, skandasana. It's a little wider, but when you bend one knee and the other, you're facing the long side of your mat. There's a lot you can do with this pose too. Okay, so that's foot pattern number 2 for today. So bring your hands to your hips. Now we're gonna set up for foot pattern. This is actually, this is the Warrior 2 family of poses. So turn your right toes to face the front of your mat. For your back foot, it should be parallel to the short edge of your mat or have your toes slightly turning forward towards the top of your mat. So you want the pinky toe side of your foot parallel-ish. You can kind of experiment with how that feels. And our hips should be facing the long side of the mat. Okay. So this is Warrior 2 foot pattern. Bend your right knee. This is Warrior 2 legs. Take your arms out to the sides, palms facing down. This is Warrior 2. As you inhale, straighten your legs, lift your arms, connect your palms. And as you exhale, open your arms, bend your right knee. Feel that again. Inhale, arms lift. And exhale to bend. One more like that. This time, as your right knee bends, look over your right fingertips, settle into your Warrior 2. Inhale deeply. Exhale fully, staying in the pose. Inhale, straighten your right leg, release your arms down. You can move around a little bit, shake it out. I'm going to show you the many possibilities for this foot pattern. So we're in Warrior 2. You can take this into Side Warrior, Side Angle. You can have a straight leg and triangle pose. This could be a standing balance and half moon pose. Same thing, my hips are facing the long side of the mat. My right toe is still facing forward. In addition to other poses, but that gives you an idea. So bring your hands to your hips. We're just going to change sides. Turn your left toes to face the short edge of your mat. Right pinky toe side of your foot, parallel-ish to the short edge of your mat. Bend your left knee. Stack your left knee over your ankle. Take your arms out to the sides, Warrior 2. As you inhale, straighten your left leg, lift your arms. And exhale, open your arms, bend your left knee. With your breath, inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Once more on your own. This time, as you bend your left knee, gaze over your left fingertips. Soften your eyes. Take an inhale. Exhale, stay. Good. Inhale, straighten your left leg. Release your arms. You can turn your feet parallel. You can step your feet together, circle out your hips. Just create balance in your body. So I haven't mentioned yet, in yoga, we breathe in and out through our nose. That helps to slow down the breath. And just helps your nervous system to relax a little more. Okay, one more foot pattern we're gonna work with. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn your right toes to face the front of your mat. And then spin on your back heel to lift it up. So you're in a lunging pose. Again, make sure you're not in a tightrope. Your right toes are facing forward. So this is the easier version. Traditionally, for this foot pattern, you'd hop your back foot forward and lower your back heel down. So you can have your front leg straight for now. So your back foot is at maybe like a 30-degree angle, 30 to 45 degrees. And what really matters is that your hips are turning to face the short edge of your mat. So adjust your feet to create that, whether that's back heel lifted or widening your right foot to the right. This is the warrior one foot pattern. We kind of went backwards, but that's okay. Because this can be the most intense on the hips. So bend your right knee if it's not. Glide your right hip back, left hip forward. And inhale, lift your arms. Warrior one. As you exhale, lower your arms at your side, straighten your right leg. Inhale, bend your knee, lift your arms. Exhale, lower. Once more, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. This time, as you lift your arms, pause. Maybe connect your palms, possibly lift your gaze. Virabhadrasana 1, warrior 1. Take one more inhale. And then exhale, release your arms down. Okay. So I'll show you. You can step forward if you want to give your legs a break. But this foot pattern can turn into pyramid pose, pyramid twist. This could also become a standing balance, warrior 3 with hands down or hands lifted. But the whole time my hips are square towards the short edge of my mat. Okay, before we do the other side, lower your hands to frame your right foot, set your left knee down. And we'll just do a counter pose, Prasarita for all the leg work. Straighten your front leg a little or a lot, half splits. So this is where you could have your hands on blocks. It's a really popular pose to use blocks. Some ways to modify if your hamstrings are tight and you don't have blocks is to just bend your right knee a little less. You can also tent onto your fingertips to create more space or have your hands in fists. That helps to create a little more lift. So take an inhale, lift slightly, glide your right hip back. And as you exhale, fold. You might walk your hands forward and melt your chest towards your right thigh. Okay, bend your right knee. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. We're just gonna switch. So spring load your back leg, step forward. Step your right leg back. Okay, we're gonna set up for that lunge. So you can have your back heel lifted and left knee bent, or spin your back heel down and come up to standing warrior 1 legs. So left toes facing forward, right toes are turned forward at an angle, or you can have your right heel lifted. Okay. Remember, we're aiming to shine our hips forward towards the short edge of the mat. So glide left hip forward, right hip back. Make sure you're not on a tightrope. And now bend your left knee. Release your arms down at your sides. Inhale, lift your arms. And as you exhale, straighten your left leg, lower your arms down. Inhale to lift your arms. Bend your left knee. Exhale, straighten and lower. Good. Once more like that. This next time, as you bend your left knee, pause. You might even connect your palms, lift your gaze. Warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, lower your hands to frame your left foot. Pick your back heel up if it's not, and set your back knee down, setting up for half splits. So even in this lunge pose, it can be helpful to have blocks under your hands if your hips are tight. So this is kind of a good position to keep your blocks if you have them, just towards the front of your mat and off to the sides. So straighten your left leg a little or a lot. Take an inhale, lift slightly, glide your left hip back, and as you exhale, fold. You might slide your blocks aside if you have them. Melt your chest toward your left thigh. Maybe even walking your hands forward slightly. And now bend your left knee. Step back to your hands and your knees. And just sit back on your heels. If this isn't comfortable on your knees, you can sit cross-legged instead. You could sit in a chair, however you're most comfortable. I like to rest my hands in my lap, one palm on top of the other, or one hand on top of the other, palms facing up, and connect my thumbs. This is a Zen Buddhist meditation mudra. A mudra is a yoga pose for your hands. This one just really feels grounding for me. But you can also just have your hands on your thighs, however you're most comfortable. Maybe close down your eyes, breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Allow your shoulders to fall away from your ears and your belly to expand with each inhale and to soften with each exhale. If your eyes are closed, please blink them open. Take your hands to one side, shift your feet to the other side, and swing them out in front of you. Okay, so we've got the baseline for all the standing poses. We're gonna move towards the floor. Take your hands behind you and take your feet wider than your hips. With your knees still bent, let your knees fall over to the right. Exhale. Inhale, lift your knees. And exhale, knees fall over to the left. So it's a really good stretch in your outer hips. Inhale, lift, and exhale to the side. As you move in this way, follow your breath and press into your hands so that there's a lift of your chest, your sternum. So spine is long. Inhale through the center and exhale to bend. Come back through the center. We're going to scoot towards the front of the mat. And we're coming into pigeon pose. Got some options. The first option, this is kind of like pigeon 101. It's called 90-90. So you would take your right shin parallel to the short edge of your mat and take your left knee out to the side. So you kind of have these 90-degree angles. Again, it's all approximate because these are bodies and not geometry. but 90-degree angles. And then you could even start to walk your hands forward for more of a stretch. Come onto your hands or your forearms. For pigeon pose, you would slide your right heel back slightly, so it's a smaller angle. Lean to the right, swing your left leg back behind you, tuck your toes, so your left leg is long. Just like in Warrior One, we're trying to square our hips towards the front of the mat. So gliding your right hip back, your left hip forward. You can be on fingertips or fists. Find a little bit of a back bend before we fold into this pose. So take an inhale. And then as you exhale, walk your hands forward. You might come onto your hands, your forearms. Like we did in child's pose, it can be nice to rest your forehead on something. So that could be a block, it could be stacked fists, stacked hands. Feel free to untuck your back toes while maintaining the extension through your back leg. Inhale deeply and exhale fully. So we'll hold this pose a little longer than the others. Oftentimes in the beginning of the practice, we'll be more dynamic, a little more movement. And then towards the end, we'll shift into more of a yin practice where we hold the postures and deepen the breath. And complete your exhale. You inhale, walk your hands back up, lean to the right, slide your left shin forward now, okay? So other side, either 90-90, so left shin parallel to the short edge of your mat, right knee out to the side. Staying high or walking your hands forward. For full pigeon, slide your left heel in a little bit. Lean forward and to the left as you swing your right leg back behind you. Have your toes tucked. Another way you could use props in this pose is you could have them under your hands. You could also, there's a block there. You could also have a block or a pillow under your hip, your left hip, if it's kind of just hovering in space and uncomfortable. Wherever you are, take an inhale, lift your chest a little, lengthen your spine, glide your right hip forward, left hip back. And as you exhale, walk your hands forward and fold forward. Maybe you find a way to rest your forehead down, stacking your hands or your fists. You have a stack of books nearby. You could use that as a prop or a pillow. Feel free to untuck your back toes. Deepen your breath as you settle into this shape. And complete your exhale. As you inhale, come up. Lean to the left, swing your back leg around. Take both legs out in front of you. Just shake them out a little bit. And now bend your knees. Plant your feet hips distance apart with your knees bent. Reach your hands forward, lift up to your chest. Tiny bit of core work before we lower onto our backs. So take an inhale. As you exhale, start to lower towards your low back and your middle back. Keep your shoulders lifted. Inhale here. And exhale, lift all the way back up. Inhale, really reach through your fingertips, lift your chest. And exhale, lower just part way down slowly to your lower back, your middle back. Inhale here. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, reach. And exhale, lower. Just do 2 more of these. Inhale. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, extend through your fingertips. And exhale, lower. Inhale here. And exhale, lower all the way down. Walk your feet in a little closer to your hips. And interlace your hands behind your head. We're just going to do pelvic tilt, so really subtle movement in the core. So take an inhale. As you exhale, press into your feet and lift just your tailbone off the mat. So pressing your middle back and into the floor. Inhale to relax. Drop your tailbone down, drop your hips. And exhale, lift just your tailbone. So you're curling your tailbone towards your knees. Inhale to release. Exhale to lift. Okay, adding on to this, inhale, lower. Exhale, lift your tailbone and your shoulders. Inhale, stay. Exhale, pull your navel towards your spine. Inhale here. And exhale, lower. So really subtle movement. So take an inhale. Exhale, lift your tailbone. Inhale, lift your shoulders. Exhale, lift both. Inhale, stay. And exhale, lower all the way down. Just 2 more like that. Inhale, tailbone. Exhale, shoulders. Inhale, both. And exhale, lower down. Inhale, tailbone. Exhale, shoulders. Inhale, both. And exhale, lower all the way down. Okay. Separate your feet wider than your hips. Let your knees windshield wiper again, side to side. And now lift your knees. Walk your feet in, hips distance apart. We'll take bridge pose, a little back bend. Take your arms at your sides and kind of robot your arms. So fingertips face the ceiling or the sky if you're outside. The sky is still there above the ceiling. Take an inhale, lift your hips. And as you exhale, lower 3/4 of the way down. So do some dynamic movement before we hold the pose. Inhale, lift your hips. And exhale, lower 3/4 down. Again, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower, part way. This time, as you lift, pause. Straighten your arms. You can either hold the long sides of your mat or interlace your hands behind your back and roll your shoulders onto your back. And take an inhale, press your feet into the floor. Feet are still parallel. Notice if they've turned in or out. Exhale, stay. 1 more inhale. And exhale, release, lower all the way down. Touch your knees together, widen your feet. You can rest your arms at your sides. This is constructive rest pose. And just allowing the back side of your body to release into the support of the floor. From here, 1 more little stretch before we rest. Hug your right knee into your chest and extend your left leg straight. Padotanasana. Extend through your left leg by flexing your foot and reaching through your heel. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, hug your right knee towards your right shoulder. Good. And now straighten your right leg and interlace your hands behind your right thigh. So some ways to modify would be to not straighten your leg all the way. You can also bend your left knee and stamp your foot down. This might help you get a little more extension out of the pose. With your hands behind your right thigh, you can point and flex your right foot, maybe even circle out your ankle a little bit. And if you're circling, change direction, circle the other way. Okay. So this is a pose that traditionally is taught with a strap. So if you have a yoga strap, you could loop it around the ball of your foot and hold the strap in your right hand. If you don't have a strap, you can just interlace your hands behind your right leg, however high they want to go. If you're particularly flexible or you've been practicing a while, traditionally you take your right peace fingers, index and middle finger, and wrap them around your big toe. Supta padotanasana. So supine big toe pose. Breathe deeply wherever you are. Okay, now start to bend your right knee towards your right armpit for half happy baby pose. This is another one where you might bend your left knee to make it a little easier. For more sensation, you could straighten your right leg out to the side, take your left arm to the side. Supta Utthita Padangustasana, supine extended big toe pose. Inhale, lift your right leg. We're going to come into a twist. So if you're holding the strap or your foot, you're going to switch. Take it either strap in your left hand or left hand outside of your foot. You can also just have a bent left knee as you take, or bent right knee as you take your knee to the side. Coming into your version of a twist. If this creates strain in your lower back, you could have both knees bent and stacked. That helps to kind of stabilize the lower back in your twist. You could gaze to the right to add a stretch of your neck. If that creates tension, just look up instead. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale slowly through your nose. Now come back to the center. Hug both knees in towards your chest and rock a little side to side. Hug just your left knee in, straighten your right leg. Flex through your right foot, reach through your heel. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, hug your left knee towards your left shoulder. From here, straighten your left leg, interlace your hands behind your thigh. Remember, you can have your right knee bent, foot planted. You can also have any angle of bend to your left knee. Point and flex through your left foot. So the aim of this pose is to stretch your hamstring. You can also circle your ankle in one direction and then the other. So we're going more for that sensation of a stretch in the hamstring. It's like not too much, not too little. The external shape doesn't matter as much. So same thing, you could use your strap, loop it around the ball of your foot, hold your strap in your left hand, or you could take left peace fingers to your left big toe. You can also just stay here with your hands interlaced behind your thigh. Inhale deeply. Belly expands, exhale fully and completely. Now start to bend your left knee towards your left armpit. Remember, you could bend your right knee and set your foot down. Half happy baby pose. You can also start to extend your left leg out to the side. Take your right arm to the side for the full extension. So again, finding a position for your body where you feel a stretch in your inner thigh, maybe your hamstrings, maybe even your right hip flexor. So you feel those sensations without strain. The external look of the pose doesn't matter so much at all, actually. We're looking to create an experience in the body. Okay, and then inhale, lift your leg, and we'll set up for the twist. So if you're holding your leg or the strap, you just switch that to your right hand. Guide your leg across. You can also have a bent left knee. And remember, if your low back feels kind of funky, you can stack both knees and have both knees bent. Take your left arm to the side, option to look to the left if that is okay for your neck. And then come back to the center, hug your knees to your chest. Rock a little side to side, just massaging out your lower back. You're gonna set up for final relaxation pose. I know it's getting chilly in Flagstaff, so this is a time where you might add some layers, socks or a hoodie, or becoming a desert person. I feel like it's cold here, but it's like 70 degrees, I think. But adding some layers or letting your body warm up will help you to rest. Okay, so come onto your back if you're not, and have your knees bent, knees touching, feet wide. Rest your arms at your sides, palms facing up. This is constructive rest pose. You can feel how, with the knees bent in this way, your lower back and sacrum can broaden and relax. If you have any low back tightness, this might feel better. The other option is to straighten your legs for Shavasana. Have your feet as wide as your hips or wider. Let your toes fall out to the sides. And sometimes I like to press into my head and just kind of snuggle my shoulder blades onto my back. It lifts my chest a little bit. You can experiment with that. You might close down your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And then exhale out through your mouth, let out a sigh. Allowing the weight of your body to drop into the support of the floor. And let your breath flow freely in and out through your nose. If you were practicing the Ujjayi pranayama, the ocean sounding breath, let that go and soften through the base of your throat, all the muscles of the neck, mouth, jaw, eyes, forehead, cheeks. Soften through the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet. Let your limbs get heavy. Hips can release, shoulders can relax, belly can soften. After all of the effort of the practice, we shift into a state of simply being, receiving our breath. receiving the fruits of our efforts. And please begin again to deepen your breath. And start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, circle your ankles and your wrists. Bend your knees if they're not, and take your arms overhead. Just take a little stretch. And then roll to one side. Rest on your side for a moment. And use your hands to press up to your seat. Come into an easy cross-legged seat. So remember, you can have shin stacks. You can have one foot in front of the other. Notice which leg you typically put in front and put the other one in front. Release your arms at your sides. Inhale, stretch your arms high. Connect your palms. Exhale. Center yourself. Lower your hands to your forehead, to your heart. You can keep your hands resting at your heart or release your hands to your thighs. Where we'll close this practice today. Please bow chin to chest and head to heart. Thank you so much for showing up, practicing with me. Thank yourself. And as you're ready, please lift your gaze, open your eyes, shift your attention back out into your day. Thanks again for being here.